Welcome to the Pikes Peak Recovery Podcast, Pathways to Healing. I'm Dr. Peter Grigg, a physician by training, and in 2009 my life totally crashed and burned from oxycodone and alcohol addiction. But enough talk about addiction, let's talk recovery. I am a person in long-term recovery, which means for me, I have not used alcohol or other drugs since January 2009. Long-term recovery has given me new hope and stability and allowed me to create a better life for me, my family, and my community. I have voluntarily maintained a lifestyle of sobriety, pursued excellent personal health, and returned to being a good citizen. I have had my depression treated, started 2 businesses, and volunteered with nonprofits in my community, at my church, and at Toastmasters. After a long journey, I received my medical license to practice medicine again. As the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration declares, recovery is the process of change, improving one's health and wellness, and living a self-directed life where one strives to reach a life of full potential. And I am on that journey, and I am sharing this with you so you know that many besides myself achieve long-term recovery. I am also an ally to people in long-term recovery, which means that I support people living in long-term recovery by being a life coach and recovery coach, and by encouraging my peers in recovery to continue their journey and to be successful. As I watch and hear stories of others expressing their positive experiences, their hope and strength, I am encouraged and ready to shout out their successes from rooftops. Others can and do get well. Hey, it could be you, a family member, or a friend. We will save the 2 questions, what is an addiction and what is recovery, for another episode. Instead, let's briefly discuss the question, what's the best way to recover from drug and alcohol addiction? This question comes up for many reasons. Many see loved ones and friends suffering and want to know what to do. Should someone go to detox, rehab, AA, or smart recovery, or somewhere else? Does a suffering addict need a psychiatrist, an addictionologist, a psychologist, a priest, rabbi, imam, sponsor, or recovery coach? And hey, some of those inpatient rehabs cost $50,000 a month, and my insurance doesn't cover it. Do I really need to do that, to go there? Some suffering addicts have also relapsed many times, causing friends, family, and clinicians alike to ponder, in a debrief-like fashion, what if anything went wrong, and contemplate if a different method or approach is needed, or just more of the same, perhaps at a higher dose. And to make things worse, many different organizations providing recovery and treatment services claim they are the best, often publicly criticizing each other, leaving those watching and seeking answers wondering, what the hell is going on? The answer is, there are many pathways of recovery that are effective and work, and what works is different for everyone. It is impossible to name all the different types of recovery paths, but they can be lumped into 7 general groups. The 7 are natural recovery, recovery mutual aid groups, medication-assisted recovery, peer-based recovery systems, family recovery, technology-based recovery, and alternative recovery supports. A brief word about each, as some of the terms may be new to you. According to William White in Multiple Pathways of Recovery, natural recovery is the most common recovery pathway. Remission and recovery happen naturally and over time. Why? No one really knows. The next type of recovery pathway is mutual support and mutual aid groups, such as 12-step programs, Celebrate Recovery, Life Ring, Moderation Management, Phoenix Multisport, Smart Recovery, Refuge Recovery, Wellbriety, and White Bison. There are others, and often these organizations serve as an initial starting point for engagement for suffering addicts. Medication-assisted recovery is the use of medications with counseling and psychotherapy to treat substance use disorders. Medications to treat opioid use disorder include methadone, buprenorphine with naloxone, and naltrexone. Medications used to treat alcohol use disorder may include acamprosate, disulfiram, and naltrexone. Substance use disorder may co-occur with anxiety, depression, or other mental illness. Antidepressants and other medications may be part of a treatment plan. Peer-based recovery support services are provided by specially trained life coaches called recovery coaches who have suffered from a substance use disorder and sustained long-term recovery. Recovery coaches help individuals find their recovery pathway and as a result function quite differently from a sponsor in a 12-step program. Family recovery focuses on treating and utilizing the entire family as part of the recovery process. There are 12-step programs such as Al-Anon, Alateen, as well as non-12-step programs. Technology-based recovery paths exist. There are online recovery support services such as 7 Cups, In the Rooms, Recovery 2.0, and others. Recovery 2.0 uses a holistic approach with practices such as yoga, meditation, athletics, nutrition, and community. And there are also alternative recovery tools such as dance, music, art, journaling, wellness recovery action plans, and others. One general observation is that the longer the duration of the addiction and its severity determine the amount of resources or recovery capital for successful intervention and treatment. There are, of course, inpatient, residential, and outpatient programs and hundreds of different psychological approaches to counseling and behavior change, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive therapy, sports psychology, animal therapy, and others. My personal road included a week in jail, at which time I did some withdrawing. Boy, was that fun. I worked one-on-one with a clinical psychologist as well as a chemical addiction counselor. I was treated with an antidepressant for 5 years as I worked with a psychiatrist. I completed a 6-month intensive outpatient program which included equine or horse therapy. Yeah, I spilled my guts to a large brown horse named Max in the mountains of Colorado. I attended and continue to attend AA. I became heavily involved in the martial arts and attained a black belt in Taekwondo and studied other martial arts. I embraced acting, writing, and co-funded a movie production company and continued to participate in men's accountability meetings once a week. An eclectic mashup, but here's the point. There are many paths of recovery, and you need to find yours. You need to be a detective of sorts. Yes, embrace your inner Sherlock Holmes. Find and use what works for you. I've worked with many in recovery who have been successful. One common feature I've noticed is that people develop hybrid programs. They try different programs and styles and take and incorporate the best of many approaches. They are like the great martial artist Bruce Lee, who developed Jeet Kune Do, his style of Kung Fu. He said, research your own experience, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is essentially your own. I encourage you to do the same. If you're a professional with a license, such as a doctor or dentist, you will likely be sent to a group of psychiatrists who will dictate your initial treatment, if you want to keep your license. Under these circumstances, you will have less choice about your recovery path. If you're on probation for committing a crime and have an addiction issue, or you're a professional, you will likely be monitored by a lot of urine drug tests and have little to say about it. By the way, I need to mention that you need to talk to your own doctors, counselors, and lawyers. This podcast is for educational purposes, and I am not telling you or anybody what to do. But to help you along, Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching will be adding interactive and self-coaching courses on the Jigsaw Box platform. The first course will be offering help for the addict who committed crimes and lost an important professional type license, such as a medical, dental, pilot, law, or other license. It'll tell you about how to document your recovery and things to do to increase your chances of getting the license back. This course will be available in September 2020. Now don't go away, because next we're discussing the stages of behavior change. Hi, I'm Peter with 2 Minute a Duck Entertainment, and this is Doug, and this is the other Doug. Together, let us tell your story.
We can be your production company for small business web ads, music videos, and more.
We are launching the Two Men and a Duck Entertainment Studios for video podcasts, interviews, speeches, PSAs, and other creative opportunities.
So subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out. Whatever your story is, let us tell it for you. Give us a call, send us an email, and we'll give you a free consultation. Let us tell your story. As many of you know, I'm currently the president of one of the local Toastmasters clubs, and I decided to give a speech about the process of behavior change. I am currently in long-term recovery from drug and alcohol use, and what that means to me is that I have not used drugs or alcohol since January of 2009. Long-term recovery has enabled me to repair relationships with my wife and my family, obtain better health, and become a contributing member of the community, including founding 2 businesses and participating in a lot of volunteer work, including at the Toastmasters Club. People have asked me, Peter, how do you help somebody change? We know you're a life coach and you know you help people with drug addiction. How do you help someone change? And does that involve hot seat therapy? Do you sit them down in a chair and yell at them until they agree to make a change? Well, techniques like that occasionally work. But what is more effective is taking people through the stages of change. And these stages are pre-contemplation, contemplation, planning, action, and maintenance. Pre-contemplation. What is pre-contemplation? This is when a client or a person has no idea they have a problem. Everyone else probably knows. Their family can tell them you're smoking too much or you're drinking too much. But this person denies it. And thus, because they believe they don't have a problem, they don't think about changing or stopping that type of habit or behavior. This is very frustrating for family members who often yell and scream in frustrated desperation to get them to stop or even to see that they have a problem. The way that is the most effective helping someone at this stage is developing empathy with a client, being a good listener, and beginning to give them information and asking them questions that forces them to contemplate their situation, perhaps for the first time. For example, you might say something like, "Is it okay if I talk to you about your smoking? What are your thoughts about your weight? Has drinking been a problem in your life? What would be the first sign to tell somebody if marijuana was causing a problem in their life? How long will you keep smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day?" This often will promote people beginning to think about their situation. And when that happens, they're in the contemplation stage. A light bulb has come on and they say to themselves, "Aha, I have a problem." Now that doesn't mean they're ready to move on to fix it yet, but it's a start. The way you help and coach people move from this stage to planning to take action is by asking them questions that make them evaluate this behavior in a way that looks at the pros and the cons of what they're doing. And there are real pros in the mind of a person, say, who is smoking cigarettes. I mean, they really enjoy it. They have rituals around it. It may be smoking after sex or smoking with coffee in the morning and other psychological rituals besides the fact that the nicotine gives them great pleasure. And so other questions at this time would be things like, what do you think the hardest thing would be to do about reducing your drinking? Asking them honest questions. What do you really like about what you're doing? What do you really like about smoking marijuana? What would be the biggest challenge if you decided to change one of these behaviors? And it's by supporting this and getting patients to think about and clearly state ambivalence, what it is they like or they don't like, and clarify in their mind helps them reach the point where they're now ready to make a plan. Because you know what they say, if you don't make a plan, you plan to fail. So they reach the stage where they're ready to do it. If they're overweight and they want to start exercising, questions that would help them would be things that help them begin to think about overcoming obstacles in advance. What is the first day you're going to go to the gym? Have you bought new appropriate exercise equipment and shoes and clothes? Once you start exercising in the gym, what might be some of your biggest challenges to continue? And so you help them anticipate problems until they're ready to execute the plan. This is often a place where people really get caught up because they think by having elaborate plans over and over and over and planning out every little detail that they're going to be more successful. But this is not often the case. As Patton said, a imperfect plan executed violently is better than a perfect plan executed several months later. There is great merit in executing a plan without complete information, but with enough to be successful. And then they take action. And so this may be, okay, I'm now into week 3 of not smoking, or week 3 of the gym and eating better. And the way you coach people at this stage is complimenting them. For example, you might say you've done really well cutting down on your drinking. Asking them about their challenges and helping them problem solve these challenges as they go along. Especially situations that might be really hard. For example, maybe they've exercised a lot and are having pains in their joints or muscles that is making them not want to go back. Helping them come up with plans to solve this in advance, whether it's drinking cherry juice or taking Motrin or getting a massage, that sorts of things. Again, helping them anticipate and find solutions quickly. And then finally, the last phase is when people are in what's called the maintenance phase, which is they've successfully done it. They've quit smoking for a year, or they've been to the gym for a year and or to Weight Watchers and have lost 50 pounds and met their goal. But now they need to expend energy and effort in maintaining those achievements. And at this stage, again, the coaching focuses on really connecting people with similar interests that support you, encouraging people to problem solve and anticipate things that may be difficult down the road. So what I've tried to talk about here is the idea that changes in behavior can occur after very brief emotional events in life, but more often they occur through sustained movements through these stages of change, which are pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparing to make the change, taking action, and maintenance. I hope some ideas of what I've talked here today will help you as you think about perhaps changing a bad habit or difficult behavior in your life. Thank you.